Hello, thank you for tuning in to read another book with me. Today we are going to be reading a really cool and interesting book. It's called Alone in the Desert, The Science of Survival, and it's written by David Drew. This is a really great book because it kind of teaches you what you would need to do if you were ever alone in the desert and how you could survive. So what I'm going to be doing while I'm reading this is I'm going to be pretending that my job right now is to research how you could survive in the desert. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out what equipment am I going to need? What am I going to need to do? How am I going to get the things that I need? What are things I should look out for? Things like that. I'm going to read the story, or this book, and I'm going to pull out important facts that I might use if I was going to teach someone else about how to survive in the desert. So I'm going to be taking the topic, surviving in the desert, researching answers for how I could do that, and seeing if I could explain it to someone else. So let's see if we can get started. Now, this book is very long, so I'm not going to read all of it, but I am going to go through a lot of it. It starts with a table of contents here. Here are some of the different things we're going to be reading about. Alone in the desert, finding water, cooking food, keeping cool by day, keeping warm at night, finding your way by day, finding your way at night, sending a message, the rescue, and then the last part is hints, clues, and facts you can use. Okay, so let's start with alone in the desert. So this is giving a scenario. Your car is broken down near a cliff in the desert. You have food for only 5 days. You have no water. How will you survive in the desert? What will you need? So let's research and find out. Day 1, finding water. On the first day, you decide to search for water. Without it, you cannot survive. Where would you find drinkable water? So, showing you some different options here, and you have to pick where you could find water that you could actually drink. So it says a canyon, here's you. There's a dry stream, so there's no water there. Lava cliffs, a depression, animal scratchings, a clay pan, dunes, a salt lake, and a limestone cave. So you have to think about where you would best find the water that you could actually drink. So it says another way to collect water is to use a solar sill. So this is saying the sun's heat evaporates moisture from plants in the sill. The moisture condenses underneath the plastic sheet. Drops of water trickle down the sheet into the can. You can sip the water through the tube. So if you put plants here and a sheet on top, the sun will pull the moisture out of the plants, make it drip into the cup, and then you can drink the water out of here. So this page didn't give us everything we need to know about finding water in the desert, but it did tell us some important things. First of all, you have to have water or you won't survive. Second of all, it told us a way that we could collect water. We just found out some information about that. Let's read about cooking food. On the second day, you decide to cook some of your food in order to preserve it, but your matches are wet. How could you make a fire using some of these things? So here are some of the things that you might have with you. So an abandoned bird nest, wet matches, rocks and stones, twigs, cotton cloth, and a lens. Well, let's read this here. The sun's rays can be used to cook food. If you can focus the rays as shown in the diagram, how could you make a solar cooker using this method? So, if you have a reflecting surface here, like it's showing, you put your food in, you let the sun hit the reflection and bounce back, it would actually use the heat to cook this food. Interesting. So another cool thing I think we're learning is that water was actually more important for us to get than food. Day 3, keeping cool by day. So on the third day, the temperature reaches 110 degrees. Your priority is to make a sun shelter. So if you're out in the desert, you need to be able to protect yourself from the sun during the day because it can be up to 110 degrees. We're learning some important facts. And it shows with the diagram here, if you have some plastic sheets, it's actually good to make a tent or some type of surface where you can be under that so you aren't exposed to the sun. If you're in the shade, this is telling you you'll stay cooler. Your third night is very cold. The temperature drops to freezing point. So the desert's 110 degrees in the day, and it gets down to freezing 32 degrees at night. You have no sleeping bag. So you have to find ways to try and keep warm using these things. So it suggests making a fire might be a good idea to try and keep warm. Maybe putting some of these things inside of a bag or inside of your clothes could help insulate you to keep you warm too. All right, let's keep going. Day 4, finding your way by day. Late on the 4th day, you run out of water. You decide to walk the shortest possible distance to find water. You climb a hill, and this is what you see. As you cross the desert in search of water, you will need to check your direction, estimate the time, and calculate the distance you need to travel. So if you don't have a compass to know which way is north, you could actually use a magnet and a needle, it's saying. If you use that, the needle will point north. That's pretty cool. You can also estimate time by measuring the sun and how quickly it's setting. And you can also calculate distance too, by looking different ways and by trying to estimate about how long it would take you. So it's telling us that if we're traveling alone in the desert, we need to make sure we're able to know which direction, figure out how long it's going to take us, and try and figure out how far we need to go. All right. Sending a message. You arrive back at the car and eat the last of your food. You decide that you must attract attention of a plane or car and send them a distress signal. So you have to find a way that you could signal that you're in distress. So by making something reflective with these, like maybe the magnifying glass or something metal, maybe making a fire, someone might see that and realize that you're there. The nearest rescue team is on the other side of the canyon. You have stumbled and broken your ankle while signaling to them so you cannot move. The canyon is 18 feet wide and 60 feet deep. So the people are going to have to use some of these items to get you from this side to the other. So perhaps the pickaxe might help. Maybe using a stretcher to try and lean it across. Some of the wooden planks or the rope might be good ideas. All right, let's finish up. So now these 2 pages are filled with all sorts of different hints, clues, and facts that you could actually use and research to help you survive. So for example, it says, it's talking about snakes. Snakes usually will not attack you if you do not attack them. Snakes are very sensitive to noises and vibrations. So it's giving you some hints on what you can do to avoid snakes if you're in the desert alone. Insulation. Insulation keeps you warm by trapping a layer of air between you and the cold air outside. So if you have cold air out here and you put insulation here and you're in here staying warm, the insulation will keep the cold air out. Awesome. All right, I thought you did a really great job reading this book, trying to research some different things we learned about the desert. Your challenge for today, can you record 3 things that you learned about what you should do in order to survive if you were in the desert? 3 different things that we kind of researched in this book. It could be what you need to find, what you need to do, what's the most important thing. All right. Thank you so much for reading this book with me. I'm looking forward to reading some more with you soon. Bye.